Hey everybody, welcome to Harmon Garage. I'm Aaron, and today we're getting back on the old Scout. We've been waiting on brakes to show up. My buddy decided to go with the front disc brake conversion, and we're just not gonna fix the back brakes for right now, because when we went through it all and looked up all the parts we were gonna need and all that, it cost about the same amount. It's actually a little bit cheaper to do the front disc brake conversion than it did to replace all the drums on the thing. And like I mentioned before, he just wants to get it driving and stopping good enough that him and his wife and family can drive it around on their property, and you know, just on the property, stuff like that. They're not going to be taking it down the road or anything like that. So just having front brakes, especially having front disc brakes, is going to be way better than what it has now. And front disc brakes will stop probably better than the original four-wheel drum brakes ever did. So we got all the parts. We're going to get in here, get started. I'm going to go over the whole process of doing the disc brake conversion with you guys. When we get to the point where we're putting the brakes on, I'll go over what parts we got with you and let you know where we got them from and part numbers and stuff like that. So if anybody else has a Scout and wants to do a disc brake conversion like this, then you'll know where we got it, what part numbers are, all that stuff, to make it easier to get it for you. And let's get started. Okay, first thing I'm gonna do, get this thing jacked up, get it on jack stands, and then we'll be able to pull the front tires off. And obviously, without getting any of the other parts out or looking at instructions, I just know that I'm going to have to take the old front brakes off, because the new ones probably go right where they are. So, get it jacked up, get the front tires pulled off, get in there and see what we got to do. Okay, already kind of wiggled that around with my hands, got it loose, got it off. So we'll get our tools out, break all this stuff loose, get it out of the way. And I'm sure it looks like there's bolts. Yeah, there's bolts in here that hold this whole backing plate on, but I don't think I can get to them with the brake shoes and everything on. So I'll get the tools, get all these springs out of the way, get all these clips out of the way, get everything out of the way, and then we'll be able to take those bolts off, and we should, no we won't. I got to take this whole hub off in order to get to that. So I'm going to get the box out with the new brakes. Hopefully there's some instructions in it, because I've never done a disc brake conversion on a Scout before. And I'll look it over and see where they want me to go, but I'm guessing this whole hub's going to have to come off. So let me open up the box and get some parts out. We'll see if there's instructions, see what we got to do, and then we'll get on it. Alright, I opened one of the boxes and briefly looked at the instructions. By briefly, I mean read the first like 3 things. It says, take the drum off, take the hub assembly off. So pretty much what I needed to know for right now. They got these tabs that keep the bolts from coming loose, and that's what I'm doing right now, is unlocking them and, you know, gashing big holes in my finger. Should be all of them. Says to remove the lock, and then there's supposed to be a special socket to take the hub off. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and guess I probably don't have the socket, because I don't do a lot of stuff with 4x4s, and probably one of them special ones that's got the teeth on it or something. And I don't have many of those, I don't think I have more than one of those. So we'll open it up, see what we got, see if it's something we can work past. And if not, that'll probably be it for today, and we'll go get a socket tonight. Yep. We got a snap ring. Possibly broken. Let's see if I can get a pick and get that worked out of her. That snap ring is definitely broken. One of the ears is off of it. We'll see if we can come up with a new one. Put back in there. I'll get this off. No. Oh, that's all grease. I honestly say there's not a lack of grease in here. I guess that's a good thing. Looks like somebody's already not had the right size socket and used a chisel to get this nut off of here. And since it's already beat like that, think we're going to have to do it again because I don't even think I can get a socket on. Luckily, not very tight. The bad part is I'm pretty sure I have a socket that'll fit this. But I'll clean this nut up while it's off before we put it back on so that the socket can be used on it. But for right now, you can't. So I think there's a locking ring to keep this inside nut from backing off. And then we got another nut back in here. Off with the hub. So now, all I should have to do to get where we want to be is disconnect the line from the wheel cylinder and take these 6 bolts out. That's going to get us down to just our straight spindle, and then we can start working on getting parts together and seeing what it's going to take to get it back together. I've got to go get a drain pan and a wrench, take this line off, and then I'll get these broken off once I get this whole backing plate and the brakes off and put a new battery in the camera. I'll bring you guys back and show you what we're doing next. Okay, I cheated. I went to start taking that line off and it was old and stuck and fighting, and rather than fighting with it, took a pair of side cutters and cut it off, because the disc brake kit comes with new hoses anyways, and those are going to need to be replaced. So why sit here and fight it and take it off the back of the wheel cylinder when it's going to get thrown in the trash? And I went ahead and broke these 6 bolts loose with a ratchet. Now I'm going to take my electric ratchet, speed up the process, and pop them off. There we go. There's our backing plate off. Clean all this up before we put the hub back on. Not really any point to get it perfectly clean right now. I'll just wipe most of the excess off so it doesn't end up on me. But I'm not going to, because I don't want to take apart more stuff than I need to. But taking those 6 bolts that held that backing plate off, unbolted this plate right here also. And if I pop this plate loose and take it off, then my inner shaft, the spindle will come off with it, and then there's a ball and socket in there for the axles. I take this plate out, I should be able to take the axle out, at least the outer part of the axle. Not 100% sure, but I think I can. Then you got 4 bolts up here with a cap, 4 bolts down here with a cap. Those are your kingpins. I think. Yeah, those are your pivots that your suspension turns on off of your housing. So kingpin, axle, retainer. There's bolts on the back here that you take off, and you can take this whole knuckle off. But you can take this plate loose, slide this off, and your axle should come out. You got to do kingpins, you do them here and here. But we're not doing any of that. Just explaining to you guys what it is. So I'm going to get the other box of parts out because the first box that I opened only had the instructions and the rotors in it. So I'll get the second box out, open it up. I know there's some brackets that hold the calipers and stuff that go on there that we're going to need. So I'll get those out, get all my stuff in line. We'll see what we got to do. Okay. I'm not going to say this kit came with the best instructions, but we're getting it figured out. The kit shows that there's like a dust shield that goes on the back of here, but I've been through all the boxes, everything it came with, there's no dust shield. And I just lined this caliper bracket up, make sure it was going to fit, and I had it backwards. But I'm just turning it around. This goes on like so. It says to put the caliper, goes on the back or on the trailing side as it says in the instructions. And this little hat goes on there, assuming it's just a spacer. And then take 6 bolts. Same 6 bolts that were on there before, but it came with new hardware. We'll go ahead and get the rest put in. Now we'll move on to the next step. And I just learned that you can't tighten up any of them until you get them all started. Because it doesn't work. Now they should all be started. Maybe not that one. Yeah. Okay. We got a couple different things we got to do. The drum fit on the outside of the hub, and the rotor goes on the inside of the hub. So we have to pound the wheel studs out that are in the hubs right now, and it comes with these wheel studs with longer shanks on them here, so that you can put them on the rotor and then drive them through the rotor and the hub. So anytime you're going to do brakes on this, you're going to have to take the whole hub assembly off if you have to do rotors. If you're just doing pads, it won't be that bad. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go get a hammer and see if I can't find myself some kind of little jig to set that up on, so it's easier to hold while I'm beating those lugs out, or maybe I'll just go over and put it in the vise. Either way, whenever I decide how I'm going to do it, I'll show you guys what we do. We'll get those lugs out. We'll get the other ones and the rotors installed on them. We'll keep going with the process and get some brakes on this thing. All right, we pretty much stopped yesterday at that point because we only came over for like an hour, came to the shop for like an hour yesterday. Me and Pops had some other stuff going on during the day, so we got to this point. We got our spacer, dust shield, whatever the heck it is on there, caliper bracket. After we got everything else stripped off, now the next process is we got to hammer all these wheel studs out and then put the rotor behind here and pound the new studs that they gave us in. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up to where I can do that, show you guys that process, and then we'll be able to put the hub back on and whatnot. We'll go from there. So that's what we're doing. Like I said, it's the next morning. See if we can hammer this out and get some brakes on this whole thing. Got our hub here. Hoping just using this block, put it on wood because it has a little bit of give, and it's better than, it's got a little bit of give, so it's not beating this hub into the concrete. So that's the only reason. You can do it on a table or whatever you want, but the wood, it absorbs it a little bit, so it's not doing any damage to the surface down here. Might be able to see, and it beating into the log there, which is good, because otherwise, if you got it on solid concrete, you're taking a chance of damaging that. All right, now we're gonna flip that over. But it's not. Maybe it just needs to be clean. I don't know. This up really good because this doesn't seem like it's sitting all the way down on there like it should, and there's not really any reason why it shouldn't be. So I'm thinking maybe the dirt and stuff is holding it up, and I need to clean this up anyways. I don't want to put it back in all nasty like this. So let me get it cleaned up. I'm not going to make you guys sit here and watch me do it, and then we'll try again, try to get this thing sitting where it's supposed to be sitting and see what happens. Well, go figure. I just had to open my big mouth. I was telling Pops this morning how cool this disc brake conversion kit was and how quick it was going, how easy it was going to be to install it. And I went to put the rotor on the hub and I didn't like it. It wasn't right. So started reading further into the instructions, and you guys see that line right there, that mark on there? Maybe another one there. It's where the rotor's hitting, and you might be able to tell there's a lip there. It's raised up. So the rotor's being held that 1/16 of an inch off of the hub when you try to put it together. And I didn't like it, so I started researching and reading in the instructions, and it says grind everything so it's smooth. So yeah, now I get to grind everything till it's smooth and the rotor sits flat on there. So I guess I'm going to be getting a grinder out. We'll take all this down as much as we can. Hopefully it doesn't damage anything, but we'll take it all down as much as we can, and I'll bring you guys back and show you what we got. Okay, I put a big 36 grit flapper wheel on my grinder. Got that all ground down so everything's smooth. Took that ridge off of there that was hitting. And now, of course, I can't do this one-handed, but as you can see now, we're sitting flat and even on here. So, took a little bit of extra time, but no big deal. Got it done. Everything's working out. So, now I just have to get my studs, drop them back in, hammer them back in. We should have that tight. And then once I do that, it's the same process I've already filmed. You guys are going to see it. You guys don't need to see it again. So I'm going to go ahead and get those in. And then I'm going to pop these seals out, repack these bearings, inner and outer. And I'm not going to film all that because I've packed bearings for you guys before too. So get those seals out, get those bearings repacked, put new seals in, put the rotors on, get that all tied down, and then we'll figure out how we do our calipers and our lines, and we'll be able to move over to the other side. Alright, well, got this all back on. Bearings are greased. Everything's sealed. I already turned this. It works still. We can lock and unlock our hubs. This is all tight. Everything's good. Don't have any bearing play. Everything spins free. Next thing the instructions say to do is hang the caliper without putting pads in it, or without the pads in it, and slide it back and forth to assure that you have clearance on the spindle mount. Now, it says once you get it on there and slide it back and forth to assure that you have clearance, then you see where it's hitting and grind the spindle mount off. So I'm assuming they just expect it to be, they just expect it to hit. So we'll see what we got to work with. Hopefully I don't have to do much grinding in there because I don't really want to grind on that spindle mount, but we'll do what we got to do to make it work. So, get these pads off of here. Oh yeah, that's it. I can't even get it on. Big time. There's a plug in the back of. See if I can turn this so you guys can see. You guys see in there? Hopefully. There's a plug here so that you can grease that. And it's hitting. So it said to put this caliper mount at 9 o'clock, which is what I did. But I'm thinking if I would have moved it up a hole, it would have been a lot. But if I'd have moved it up a hole, it would have gave me more clearance at the bottom, and it might have gave me clearance on that plug. I'm going to take that plug out, see what kind of plug it is. If I can get a plug that like screws in flush and takes an Allen head instead of having the big square head plug, I'll show you what I'm talking about in a minute. But I'm going to get that out. If I can get that to put a different style plug in there that's flatter, then that should take care of that problem. And then we'll just make sure it's not hitting anywhere. So let me get that out of here and we'll see what we got. I'm going to show you guys what I did here. I got the, man, I'm losing it. Trying to do too many things at one time. I got the spindle hub holder, whatever they call it, ground down to where the caliper will clear, and that, I showed you guys, here I'll just show you. I got this ground down to where the back of the caliper clears. This is that plug I was telling you about that had the big square end on it. I took it out, I got a Allen plug, screwed it all the way in, not hitting anything. It screws in nice and flush, so the caliper doesn't hit there anymore. And then there was a seam on this caliper from the casting, and it was kind of rubbing. So I went ahead and cleaned that up. I was very, very careful grinding on that caliper so I didn't get a lot of heat in it and ruin any seals. But we just cleaned it up a little bit. I've had the caliper on. It fits now and moves like it should. So now I can grab the brake pads, which are sitting over here on the floor, and we can get this caliper mounted. So I'm going to do just that. And then we should have to put the line on, brake line on this side, hose, brake hose on this side, and that should be it for this side other than bleeding, but we can't bleed until we get the other side done and get everything hooked up. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys putting this caliper on. We'll do that line, and then we'll get the other side knocked out and we can start bleeding these brakes. All right, I'm sure you guys already know this, but for those that may not, and just because I like to be helpful, whenever you're putting a caliper on, I don't care if it's front, rear, left, right, whatever, the piston always goes to the inside and the bleeder always goes up. So just a little information if you didn't know that, if you haven't done brakes before, if you're trying to figure out how to do some brakes, whatever. Hopefully that helps. So, I'm gonna get our brake pads put in here. I just kneeled down on a caliper pin and it didn't feel very good at all. Get these up in here. Get a pin started. Find our other pin. Get it started. got that part on. You guys can see over here. We got our line here. Might have to open the hood, disconnect the line from the inside. We'll hook our new hose that came with the disc brake kit up. We'll hook it up to the back of our caliper. We'll hook it up to the line up here. And that'll be it for this side until we bleed. This side will be done. And we'll get moving on the other side. Alright, you guys already saw that this side was all finished up. Off and on time lapse with dead camera batteries and malfunctions. You might have saw that this side got finished up. We got Pops in there working the brake pedal. I'm about to bleed this thing. The back brakes I have blocked off. No fluid can go back to them. And I took them apart to see what we needed to get brake parts wise, and there's nothing in there. Like, there's a wheel cylinder bolted to a vacuum plate, and that's it. And that's part of the reason why it was just as cheap to go with the disc brake conversion in the front as it was to get all new brakes, because it needed everything for the backs, and it ain't cheap. And then we would have needed to redo the fronts as well. So it is what it is. Got disc brakes now, which is better anyways. I'm gonna turn the camera on. We got the master cylinder full of fluid. Pops is gonna get the pumping on the pedal. We're gonna bleed these brakes out and see what happens. All right, go ahead and pump it, see if you get any pressure. Okay, bump it three more times and hold it. Whoa! We got air coming out, something's working. Alright, again. Hold it. Yeah, we're getting more air. Alright, pump it. You feeling anything? Alright, let me check the fluid in the master cylinder. No, the master cylinder is empty. Oh, we had to fill up all the lines. The reservoir ain't very big. Follow it to the floor. Alright, got this side bled out. Gonna go bleed the other side, same way. Seems to be getting pedal already, so we're doing good. And we'll get brakes finished up. Alright, the old Scout's sitting back on the ground. Wheels are back on. Everything seems to be okay so far. I had to adjust what I ground a couple different times to make sure that the caliper had travel after we started bleeding them and stuff, because the passenger side one wedged itself in there. I hadn't grounded enough. It wedged itself in there and locked the brakes down. So I think I have both sides ground far enough. But before I call it done on this brake job, I'm gonna go drive it around here in front of the shop, make sure I can hit the brakes, still release, stuff like that. Pops is gonna film for you guys so you can see what's going on, and we're either gonna have a good working disc brake conversion, or they're gonna lock up and I'm gonna get mad, and then we're gonna have to figure it out. So here you go. I need the key.
He's taking a little trip around the shop. We'll see how everything's going when he comes back around. Everything seems to be looking pretty good, so I guess we did something right today, which is odd.
Huh?
So, here's Aaron.
Alright, well, everything seems to be going good. She still starts great, and brakes seem to be working. You gotta kinda hold it, push it down real firm and hold it, or give it a light pump and then hit it again to get good braking, because it's power brakes. It doesn't have a booster, which I'm sure there's going to be an upgrade for that in the future. But for right now, for the purpose of it, we've got working disc brakes in the front. So that's all good. Last thing we got to do on this thing before it can go back home is put the fuel tank back in. We had the fuel tank out and cleaned it all out and coated the inside of it and all that good jazz. And Now it's been coated. It's had adequate time to dry, all that stuff. So all we got to do is put the tank back in, run a line and a filter up here, and we'll be good to go. So we're gonna do that real quick. And
another thing too, that the lug nuts are opposites on each side when you go to take them off on a normal Scout. But the new disc thing we put on, everything's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey.
yeah, they had right-handed and left-handed lugs, and we switched them out. So now I'm probably gonna go ahead and switch out the rears too, go get some lugs and switch out the rear on the driver's side, because otherwise he's gonna have 3 wheels that are left-handed or right-handed and one that's left. So we'll probably switch that out, but other than that, we're gonna get the back jacked up, get the tire taken off, get the fuel tank in there, and get this thing set, ready to go. Hi, I'm Aaron from Harmon Garage, and I'm coming to you live from the rear wheelhouse on this 66 International Scout, where we're installing this fuel tank that fits into the side here, which is a real pain in the butt. I didn't film getting it in there. I'm telling you what, whoever made this design, putting a fuel tank there, not only does it fill up with dirt and crap that gets thrown off the tire, there is a panel that goes on here, but it goes right over the top of it. It goes in it and everything else, and let's just say that it's not one of the better engineering marvels of the world. But either way, I got it in there. All this silver stuff running down the tank is Por 15 tank coating that goes in there and coats the inside of your tank. We got the tank cleaned out real good. We put that coating in there. It says to let it dry for, I think, 24 hours before you put any gas in it. So we're overachievers and let it sit for like, I don't know, 3 weeks almost. Yeah, 24 days, you know. But yeah, so that's our pickup tube fuel line. Goes down under the tank, it comes out under there. We'll hook a line to it, put a filter, run it up to the fuel pump, and then we got the plate that goes over here. So I'm gonna grab that plate and get it installed. I'll show you guys what that looks like when it's back in there. Just for, I told you guys the rear brakes didn't have anything. There they are, nothing. I got a drum here, and isn't it cute? That's about it. So, no, it's in the truck. So me and Pops are gonna get this plate and get it put on there. The fuel neck that did go here was all plastic, rubbery plastic, something like that, and it fell apart. And I had a spare fuel neck from something, and it happened to fit the tank, so we put it on there. Now I just got to make something for this side we can hook the hose to and get a cap on. So I think I'm 99% sure I've got some old square body fuel neck sitting in a tote in there somewhere. Pretty sure I can pull one of those out and make it work, because I always make square body parts work on everything else. So we're gonna kind of try to get this wrapped up. I'll show you guys what we got going when we're done. We'll fire it up off of this tank, drive it around a little bit, and then old Scouty Scout here should be ready to go home. All right, fuel tank is all back in, got our panel back in. All the bolts were either already broken off, or I broke them off, or had to cut them to get them off when I took it off. So it went back in with self-tappers. I talked to my buddy and he said that was fine, and it'll make it just as easily accessible. And then I told you guys that we were gonna have to figure something out with a fuel fill neck. Well, we did. I got the behind the seat tank from Evergreen. Not gonna be using it. So I cut the fill neck off of that tank. I have the cap, and then I took a piece of 16 gauge, drilled a hole in it that was the right size, set that up on it, tack welded it on, ran some screws through the holes that were already in the body from where the old one screwed on. We got our fill neck, or our filler, ran hose. You can't see it because it's up here underneath the, behind that panel that I told you about, and it goes over 90s, goes into the tank. We've already poured about 5 gallons of gas in there, and nothing's leaking, everything's good. So I'm over here working on putting in a fuel filter and more fuel line to go from that pump back to the hard line on the tank. Pops is over here working his butt off trying to get this tire back on. Once the tire's back on and I get done running the fuel line, we're gonna see if we can't get this sucker to draw some fuel out of the tank and fire up. If it draws fuel out of the tank and fires up, phase 1 of the 66 Scout A800 is done, and it'll be ready to go home. So give us a few minutes. Let me finish running fuel lines, see if we can get it to start and pull fuel out of that tank. If it does, it's a good day. All right. I know it's kind of loud, but it's music to my ears. Got the fuel tank fully installed. Got fuel lines run from the tank up to the electric pump, to the carburetor. She's running on her own fuel tank. She's got front disc brakes that work good for what they are. Everything's smooth. So yeah, fuel tank's good, brakes are good, and I'm gonna shut this thing off so I don't have to keep yelling at you guys. But yeah, so Scout A800 phase 1 is done. It can go home. They can drive it around on their property and whatever they want to do until they're ready to go further with it. And when they're ready to go further with it, if it comes back, then we'll get to it and do it. So hopefully
it won't.
No, I want it to come back. I want to build it. The front disc brake conversion kit came from the other box on the thing already. I'll go out there. I gotta go get the instructions to tell you the name of the place it came from. Can't remember off the top of my head. So, hoping the instructions tell me where it came from. No packing slip, so that's not going to tell me where it came from. Well, no, it doesn't. Okay, so I'm going to hold that up there so you guys can see it for a minute. Good for 67 to 73 Jeeps or Commandos, full-size J-Series trucks, CJ8 Scramblers, and CJ10s. Doesn't say anything about a Scout on there, but it fits a Scout. There's the part number right there. And I will talk to the guy that owns the truck and find out where it was ordered from, and I'll put it in the comments so that you guys know. But that's gonna do it for this one. Scout's ready to go home. Me and Pops, well, we wanted to have it done this morning, but just not what I used to be. So we got it done today. Me and Pops have a big project planned for tomorrow and Friday, which today's Wednesday, so tomorrow and Friday we got a big project planned. We'll even film it so you guys can watch it too. So thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be able to do this. Y'all have a good one. Oh wait, harmongarage.net, best merch on the planet. New shirts up there, don't want to miss it. Make sure you get one. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you next time.